Okay, time to figure out what's on this thing.
For anyone who knows me, you know I am a massive fan of horror in all its forms. I love all things creepy, disturbing, and just generally unsettling. The problem is, video games in general have a weird relationship with horror. For most popular horror games to be successful, they have to blend fear with stress. When you are scared, your brain is tricked into interpreting stress as fear, giving you the illusion of terror. In fact, I would argue that most horror games rely far more on stress than they do on actual fear. The problem is, for people with severe anxiety disorders like myself, my stress tolerance isn't always the best, which mars my relationship with a lot of horror within the video game medium. Obviously, there are several notable exceptions, but I think the statement still stands on its own. Enter Inscryption. Now, I knew nothing about this game jumping in. A friend of a friend made a vague tweet about enjoying it, and I decided to randomly purchase and play the game. I am very happy that I did. In my opinion, this game might be the perfect horror game. Now, before I get too far ahead of myself, let me just play a small clip of the intro of this game. So this is quite literally the first 2 minutes. This isn't really going to be a lot of spoilers, but I want you to pay attention to this so you can know what I'm referring to. Alright, so I didn't play these in chronological order, so I'll break down some of these parts here. The first thing I want to mention is just the sound design. The sound design is phenomenal. It clearly sets the tone, it allows you to know that things are unsettling, but it's very vague about it. It doesn't want to throw it all in your face. There's no scary monster that jumps out, there's no immediate gore or even immediate threat to your life. It just allows things to sit odd, unsettling, and just generally incorrect. And that, I think, is the thing that I really want to focus on here in this video. This game is incorrect, and that is what makes it a very powerful and unique horror experience. Now, I didn't show this in the original clip, but let me play this part here. This is what happens when you very first boot up the game.
What? What? Hold on a second, that is fantastic. They don't let you start a new game, you have to continue an old game. Feels like, one of those, like, haunted cartridges?
Notice here, the game forces you to continue instead of starting. Right off the bat, it's setting the standard. This is incorrect. That is not how games are supposed to be played. That is not how you want to play games. That is not how booting up a new game is supposed to work. I realize I'm being pretty redundant here, but I just want to drive this point home. This game forces you to do things that you aren't supposed to do, and that will make you feel a little uncomfortable. How would you feel if you got this new game that you were curious about, and you had to just continue, and you just constantly, in the back of your mind, you're wondering, what did I miss out on? Now, obviously, I'm not stupid. I know that this was an intentional move on the game's part, but it's hard to ignore that little nagging in the back of your mind, wondering, what was the background? Because the game feels like a start to a game. It starts with an introduction, it starts with a tutorial, but it obviously isn't the beginning, so you have to wonder, what happened earlier? I'm not going to spoil that part of the game in this video, but it's the connotations and the presentation I'm really focusing on here. It's all in the small details. There's no one thing I can point to that makes this intro and this setup scary. It's all these small details, the unsettling sound design, the way that they intentionally are jarring, but not in a way that feels disconnected. It's jarring, but within this world. The way the music plays differently, the way that cards tremble as you have to choose who you're sacrificing, and just little things, how he just casually mentions, oh no, the suffering is real, but they aren't dead. The fact that some of the cards are sentient and talked to you, but this is allowed to just be subtle in the background. They don't drive that point home like so many other games and other writers would. And I know I have talked about this multiple times, but the concept of show, don't tell. This is huge in video games, and it's often overlooked in video games. I've criticized so many for this. Don't tell me something is bad, show me something is bad, and this game does that phenomenally well. He vaguely mentions that suffering is real. You see the cards tremble, you see one of them calling out for help right before you sacrifice him. You see all these little things, but they don't really focus in on it. They allow it to be in the background. If you aren't paying attention, you might not notice how bad things might come across. You might, or you might not. It's irrelevant. They allow it to just be itself. Because as a player, you don't really care. Correction. As a character in this game, you don't necessarily care because you have to do it anyway. But as a player yourself, the person outside of the screen, it's a little unsettling. It's hard not to. In fact, when I was playing, I tried my hardest to keep several things alive. If I noticed that one was sentient, I went out of my way to do the best I could to never put him in harm's way. It was inevitable, I think. I don't believe there was any chance for me to avoid it entirely. But then, I tend to be fairly empathetic. This is how I play a lot of my games. In XCOM, for instance, I was very protective of my people, and I would name them after people I knew to make sure that I would do the best I could to keep each individual soldier alive. So some of this could just be the way in which you play. But for me personally, it was very effective. Let me just point out again, this is a card game about death that is very obvious, the way they talk about the blood and sacrifice mechanics, and the concept of sentient cards and living creatures within this game that is built around and focused on killing and sacrificing is terrifying. And keep in mind, this is just the intro. All of these things I've mentioned were just the initial setup. It continues to get further into unsettling territory as you progress. Now, I'm trying to be fairly vague about a lot of this because I'm trying to sell the game to you. I want you guys to play this game. I want other people to talk to about this, and I think it will get there, but at the time of this recording, this isn't a very popular game, it doesn't seem, despite its pretty good reviews on Steam. So I won't step too far outside of the actual introduction. I 100% will record more videos on this. I want to continue breaking it down, so I'll have another video following the introduction about this section and in further sections of the game. The takeaway here is this is a phenomenal opening, probably a perfect opening to a horror game, and I really think that you should play it. I think you should jump in head first, but keep an open mind. I didn't expect to find this game to be so unsettling, and I didn't expect them to be so effective at providing a horror experience built around a card game. It is very unique, and absolutely one of the best games I've played so far. I realize I am rambling and gushing about this game, but I really think that this is a really good experience that a lot of people will like, and I'm a little worried it's going to end up being one of those ones that people talk about later as a hidden gem that no one noticed. I think people should be noticing this, and I want more people to play this game. Like I said, more videos will be on the way, but I'm going to cut this one here now. Go get the game. It's absolutely 100% worth it. I highly recommend it. Y'all have a great day, and I, Mr. Blubberbutter, will see you later. Bye.